Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ask a Healer series. Today I'm going to be doing a follow-up to the last video I did for this series, which was around tips to manifesting more in your life. And with each one of these episodes, what I'm attempting to do with the tips to manifesting is to give you more and more tools to help you in your little toolbox. And when I say tools, I don't always mean something physical. I mean food for thought, consciousness for consideration. Oh, I really like that. Consciousness. I think that's going to be in the title for this one. Tips to manifesting more consciousness for consideration. So on today's episode, I want to follow up to also mention that I realized I hadn't said how much I ended up getting my quartz countertops for, even though I did manifest them. So I wanted to follow up with that I did actually get them for more than half of what the Home Depot was trying to charge me. So instead of paying like $10,000, I manifested getting my countertops for $4,600, and that was with installation. So yes, it is possible for you to manifest the things that you want. I'm going to say this, and I do find that a lot of videos you'll see will tell you, oh, it can be absolutely anything. You just have to focus really hard. You got to visualize, you got to do these things, right? I have found in my own personal experience that it's best to have the desire, but you want to not focus on the how or the when. You also don't want to focus on specific details. Like it has to be from a specific place or those things. You can, here's the reason why I'm saying it. My experience is that you can manifest quicker the more broad certain aspects are. Now, some things are going to be deal breakers, right? Like for me, a deal breaker with regards to my sparkly countertops would have been that they weren't black sparkles, or black, that it wasn't black quartz, and that it was sparkly. Like those three things were like must-haves for me. But as far as any other details outside of that, I was completely open. So the more open you are, the more, the more there's to work with, and then like it can happen faster. And I mean, and even still, I mean, it was, like a year. I mean, it was like literally probably almost 2 years for my countertops to manifest. But I got like these little signs and synchronicities. Oh, that's going to be another video I'm going to do. But that led up to when they were coming. And so like that was a whole thing that I used to actually get excited. So I'll actually talk about that in another video. But the more specific, the more details you put in, sometimes that might take longer. And I say sometimes. Here's the reason why I'm giving it to you like this, okay? I don't want to sugarcoat this. I don't want to tell you that everything you want you can have instantaneously. That hasn't been my experience. Some people, it is like that. They can have a whole buffet and want everything in that buffet, and bam, just like that, they get it. But what I have found, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I watch a lot of other YouTubers' videos. I'm always looking for inspiration just in my own life. Like for me, everything I share with you is because I took information from others. I was divinely guided to, seek out other modes of consciousness around different things. I accumulate and acquired tools from all kinds of spiritual concepts and spiritual guidance that other people give. And I used it. I did the practical application, and I saw how it worked and how I felt about it. And then I spent time thinking about it, analyzing it. What did I really feel about that? What new thoughts, new beliefs would I create based on what that experience was? And my truth, and this may or may not resonate with you, is that things don't happen for everybody in the same way. Okay, like one of the things I have found is that I've noticed, and I look for patterns. I don't know. It's kind of, I guess you could say it's kind of like a hobby for me. It's entertaining, where I'm so curious. I'm Aquarius. Although I do show up more Pisces, and these days I'm very, very much more Pisces dominated. But I'm very curious, and so I like to notice patterns with how things happen in certain people's lives, what their astrology is around, in conjunction with what certain themes happen in their lives. Where do I notice the patterns of certain areas being more challenged than others? And so one of the things that I found is I look at, like, and there's a lot of factors with birth charts, and that's going to be a whole other Ask a Healer series that I'm going to talk about, because I literally spent like 9 months down a rabbit hole of, so much of my time was consumed by learning about astrology. People don't realize it is more psychology than you can imagine. It's like the original psychology. And it was very informing, and it helped me to better understand people. And I find that if we can make more effort to understand people, we can hold more compassion for them and less judgment. And that's always my goal, because, like I've always prayed to the universe, like I want to be a being of love. I want to be a beacon of unconditional love. I don't want to be somebody that's causing the pain. I want to be the one that's helping to repair and to replenish and to lift people up and out of the pain. And I think that for many of us who have gone through a lot of painful experiences in our lives, who have been hurt by others, that, not in all cases, but in many cases, like, that becomes a triggered desire, just because we know how bad it feels. And, some of us are called to help to resolve that in the world. But when it comes to, to manifesting, I have noticed that, like, certain astrology signs will struggle in one area more than another area. It's not always 100% true. It's just like these little patterns and little themes that I've noticed. So what this video is really going to be talking about is there's twofold, because I did pull cards from the Answer is Simple deck, and there's a message in that. But then the other message that I wanted to talk to you guys about today was understanding that, like, if you look at your life, there's one area, like if you imagine your life as like a pie chart, and each section of the pie chart represents a different category of existence: career, family, relationships with friends. There's one for romantic relationships. There's one for finances. There's one for health. There's one for whatever. There's probably other categories, right? Okay. And what I've noticed is certain signs struggle more with certain categories. At least that's been in my purview of experience, not an assumption I made and then it manifested. It's like just observations. Which I often, I try to spend more time being an observer, and it's a good practice. If you can be more of an observer to what your experience is instead of being like fully in it, it actually helps you to emotionally detach and look at things a little bit more objectively, which is part of what is going to help you to manifest more in your life, because you can look at that without an emotional connection. If you can look at something that's happening to you without that emotional connection, but still a desire is sparked. And now when I say emotional connection, I mean like a negative emotion, and it's not necessarily negative. Okay. There's no emotion that's bad. It's just certain emotions make us feel bad. They make us feel bad. And some emotions make us feel really good. So I'm talking about, like, if a situation creates a triggered emotion in you that doesn't make you feel good, then it's going to be harder. Like, that type of a connection to it makes it harder to manifest what we want to experience. So an example of this is, if you have a situation with somebody in your life and you found that, like, over several years, you're constantly having this struggle with that person in a specific way. So you're so emotionally invested in the struggle and how it's made you feel for all that time. it's a lot harder to see different perspectives, to shift yourself out, to see that, you know what, maybe there's other reasons, maybe there's an other way I can think about this or view this. Because when we're caught in that cycle, when we want to manifest something different in that dynamic, and we want that dynamic to change, we want that experience with that individual to change. If we're emotionally connected to it from a negative emotion, which is basically our thoughts about that is pessimistic, our thoughts about that person, our thoughts about the situation, if we can't cut that cord of emotional attachment, then we can't manifest what we want to experience with that individual instead. So how do you do that? Well, there's many ways. You can journal it. You can, just make a decision. Give yourself permission to say, you know what, I'm tired of the battle with this. So the path of least resistance is always the best path to follow when you're trying to do things. And when I'm saying path of least resistance, I'm saying when you're trying to do things. So there's probably other cases. Look, I always operate from there's more than one way to do something, okay? There's never one right way to do it. There's multiple. So for me, you'll hear me like stop, and I'll always be like, hey, but there's other paths, because there are. And even though I'm following down one track, I'm trying to help you to create a new mindset that there's always more than one way. There's always more than one truth. There's always more than one perspective, because there is. And I look at things from, I guess you could say, a multidimensional level when I'm looking at situations. I'm analyzing every different dimensional layer to understand things from different perspectives. So you can take time to find a perspective that would help you to shift into compassion for that person. Go back to the truth of what matters with regards to that person, so like, how do you want to feel, and just spend time visualizing that experience. That can help you to release the negative emotional connection to it. The key is you have to be willing to entertain other ways of doing things in order to manifest what you want with regards to that. And walking away, detaching yourself, is the first step so that you can clear out those emotions. Use solfeggio frequencies. Use the subliminals. I have letting go of attachment subliminals that I've got on my channel. I've created ones for anxiety. There's going to be ones for like releasing negative thinking. I have a guided meditation hypnosis up for clearing away limited thinking. These are all tools that will help and assist you to removing that attachment so that you can create. Okay, because if we're bogged down, if our mind is bogged down, if our emotions are bogged down with that heaviness of not liking our experience, how in the hell can you think that you're going to be able to manifest what you want? The energy that you put out is being matched by the universe. So it's magnetized. So if you're putting out this irritable, angst-filled energy around that situation, every time you think about it, every time your emotions, because our emotions are very powerful in being points of attraction. It's why you can have all the affirmations in the world, but if you don't feel those affirmations to be true, it's not going to, because the mind-heart coherence, it works together in our manifesting. So in addition to that, with the cards, okay, the first card is connect with your soul family. So what is this talking about? For me, the message that I got when this card came out was about when you're trying to manifest, and it has to do with other people. Find a way, again, I feel like connecting back to the detaching from the negative emotions. Go back to the truth of what matters with connecting to people. What would you want to experience with the individual instead of what you have been experiencing it? A lot of the detachment is letting go of the past experience. It's being willing to let that go. And sometimes it's hard because sometimes we hold on to these emotions about it because we're afraid of the unknown, and we don't know what's going to happen if we do. But here's the thing, you already do know what's going to happen if you don't. And that is, you're going to keep being on that hamster wheel, experiencing the same dynamic that has got you frustrated, irritated, irritable, and it's stealing your joy and happiness. So connecting back to the truth of that, what you want with that experience is going to help you to shift your energy. Sending that person love, creating this mindset of surrounding the situation in love will free you from the negative attachment. It's being willing to let go of being right. You don't have to be right, because if your goal is to be right, then it's really just your ego wanting to be pacified and validated. But the honest approach is more about understanding that you validate yourself by saying, it's okay for me to feel these things. And this is what you have to do. You have to give yourself permission to be okay with what you want. That it is okay. Give yourself permission to know that it is okay for you to have what you want. It is okay for you to have these feelings. It is okay for you to speak your truth. It is okay for you to not like the way something is panning out. And then go back to, but what do I want to experience? And know that, hey, at this point, if the other path is stealing my joy, why would I want to keep holding on to it? So these are quite, we got to take that time, and we have to check in with ourselves, and we have to have these internal conversations. The other card that came up is say, I'm sorry. So this is another path to manifesting. And the reason why, and what really came out, what I was really divinely guided to speak on, was this idea of another way of releasing the negative emotions is by being willing to apologize. Now, you don't have to apologize to the person, but apologize to yourself for holding on to the negative emotions behind that experience. Like, show yourself compassion and love. And you know what? Then apologize to them in your mind, because again, the energy and the emotions that you were holding on to, the universe is creating an energetic match to. So if you don't, this is where manifesting is tricky, because this is why I always tell people, listen, if you know that every time you have a thought, it manifests, you have to be better practiced at being very careful about what you think and what you hold on to and what you assume. Because the more powerful you are, the faster those things will manifest. And that's why when people kid about, or affirming that they're something negative, or affirming that they are broke, or all these things that they might say, you have to understand that you're legit telling the universe to send you more lack. You're legit telling the universe to send you more of what you were saying you are. So even if you're doing it in jest, you can't. It's going to manifest. And like, it's really important that you understand that is how powerful we are. Like Marianne Williams said, like, people, you fear not what having power would do, but not understanding just how powerful you are. I'm probably butchering that. It's been a while since I've watched that, but I know the gist of it comes down to understanding how powerful you are. And that is what we fear. Because if we're that powerful, then it means that we have to be more responsible with that power. And that responsibility is in our thoughts, of what we think, what we're speaking, what we're affirming. Anytime you use the word I am, you are affirming to the most powerful thing. And so if you don't want any more brokenness, if you don't want any more crappy experiences in your connections, stop affirming that you are in whatever that is, and start affirming the opposite. It's a counterintuitive process that you have to do. But that's all for today. So I have no idea why what that noise is, but I'll see you guys next time. Take care.